I've always been an overachiever. Growing up as a first-generation Filipino-American and seeing my father accomplish his dream of becoming a doctor in this country has taught me the values of determination, hard work, and courage. Intention setting is something that was taught to me at a very young age. So it comes to no surprise to anyone when I set my mind to do something, I'm determined and diligent about achieving it. I've made many accomplishments in my life. I've excelled academically, achieving my bachelor's degree and master's degree within just a couple years' time. From there, I decided to continue with more schooling. And at that time, I was in the process of buying my first home and planning a wedding. Talk about a full plate. But it didn't stop there. I thought, hey, let me become an entrepreneur. And that's where I began my coaching practice and had the amazing opportunity to work with all different types of people from all different walks of life. And in the midst of that, I wrote my first book and had the amazing opportunity to go on book signings, speaking engagements, and just spreading positivity to everybody I met. Life was really good. And I thought to myself, hey, this intention setting stuff, it really does work. Until one day, I found myself in a 9x10 box. Imagine you and your life's contents in a 9x10 box. That's about the size of a parking space in a typical shopping mall, and the size of the room that I found myself living in. I found myself in a situation that I could have never imagined. I was broke, with absolutely no money, and the very humbling experience of having to go to my family for help. My marriage, it was disintegrating, and I was on the verge of a divorce to a man who I didn't even know anymore. And I was so doubtful about my career, wondering if I was even making a difference in these people's lives, and how in the world was I ever going to be successful at it. But the worst part was I felt like a total hypocrite, because here I was, a meditation instructor, teaching people about mindfulness and living from their heart and being present, and I wasn't. I was angry. I was really angry. I was depressed, and I was in a really, really dark place. So, in an attempt to get myself out of this funk, I decided I needed to do something drastic. So I decided to go on a retreat. But not just any retreat, a silent meditation retreat. So let me tell you a little bit about what this retreat was not. This was not a retreat that involved some yoga with meditation sprinkled in and you're drinking your green juice and having great conversations with friends. No, this was pure work. For 10 days, I would meditate in complete silence. We would take breaks for meals, but spent the majority of our time on our meditation cushion. And by silence, I mean silence. No talking to the other participants, no technology like cell phones, social media, no journaling. Just you and your thoughts for 10 days in complete silence. That sounds like a good idea, right? I signed right up. So, fast forward to the day of the retreat, and we're excited and standing in line and turning our phones in, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell did I just get myself into? How was I going to go for 10 days in complete silence? As a social butterfly, this was devastating. And let's just talk about social media. So how was I going to go for 10 days without checking my Facebook page? So wait, let's just get real here. How was I going to go for 10 minutes without checking my Facebook page? When was the last time that you were silent for 10 days, 10 minutes, or 10 anything? I was really doubtful in that moment, wondering if I was in the right place, But I had to rely on my faith that I was, so I turned my phone in, and I sat my butt down on that meditation cushion. Now, I knew during the retreat there were certain things that were going to come up for me. Up until this point, I had done a lot of personal work on myself. I knew that inadequacies about my career would come up, wondering if I was really impacting these people's lives and making a difference. And I knew that inadequacies about my relationship would come up, wondering what went wrong and what did I do wrong. But what was most surprising for me were deep, dark thoughts, painful memories of things that I hadn't thought about for years. I hadn't thought about for decades. I have one specific memory where I was in the 5th grade and all the girls were bullying me. And one of the girls took it upon herself to take a pair of scissors and cut a big chunk of my hair off. And in that moment, I felt totally humiliated. I felt totally ostracized and all alone. And more thoughts like this came up. And more feelings like this came up. And here I am, sitting at this meditation retreat, this beautiful experience on my meditation pillow, and all these horrible, painful thoughts are showing up for me. So it was in that moment I had to go back to my intention. You see, up until this point, I had been a little bit wary about intentions. I had set intentions my entire life. And where had that gotten me? It got me to that 9 by 10 box. I had done everything right, and what did I have to show for it? But in that moment, I had a realization. And what I realized was that life happens for us and not to us. Every single event that happens in our life, we give it meaning. We can decide to be victims of our circumstance, or we can decide to be victorious. We can look at ourselves in that 9 by 10 box and wonder how in the heck did we get in that 9 by 10 box? Feel sorry for ourselves or blame others for us being in that 9 by 10 box. Or we can look at the situation for what it is and recognize it, and then do everything in our power to get ourselves out of that 9 by 10 box. I realized in that moment that if I had never had the experiences and the challenges of being an entrepreneur, of putting myself out there and being vulnerable with my work, that I would have never had the amazing opportunity to touch people's lives all over the world. And I realized if I had never had the heartache and heartbreak of my failed marriage, I would have never learned what true compassion was and the power of unconditional love. And it all begins with our intention. Our intentions are so powerful, and they drive us to our destination. We may have challenging moments in our lives. It's the most challenging moments in our lives. But if we look at those situations with intentions of positivity or learning from the situation, we can change our outlook and the outcome of any situation. Intentions are so powerful, and they can help you create the life that you want and that you deserve. My life today might not be perfect by any means, but I can tell you I'm living a life more amazing than I could ever imagine. I have the ups and downs just like everyone here, but because I set intentions filled with positivity and gratitude and passion, that is what shows up in my life. I see the impact that I'm making on people's lives each and every day and how it affects them. I have learned to let go, and I've learned to love again. So I just have one more question for you. What 9 by 10 box are you standing in today? And what intention must you set to get yourself out of that 9 by 10 box?